go into private unless it's something to do with a legal matter.
Not closed door, but just a recess.
Okay.
For
as long as it isn't closed door.
Yeah, we did that before. We did a recess for, to go over the insurance information, and anybody who had questions met with the insurance and HR, remember? So if anybody...
As long as the audience knows, though, Madam Chair, that they can listen.
Yes.
Because we cannot do that.
So,
I don't really see Madam Chair, I don't see a purpose for recessing. I mean, we sat in study session, reviewed, I mean, if there's other questions, we'd be happy to answer based on Budget and Finance's projection of where revenues and expenses are falling. These are just mapping out the last few weeks. You know, obviously, every time we do do the budgets, we try to map out the best as you can look at, and things change. There's uncontrollable expenses out there that do reflect and change some of those, as well as trying to reflect some revenue to offset some changing expenditures that would affect our bottom line.
okay. And I have a question about, well, we're still kind of discussing whether or not we're going to postpone this, because I have a question about the item itself.
Well, that is still a matter of question of postponement, so we can...
Right, so, okay, we understand that we would need a special meeting. So would the council members who have concerns about the postponement be comfortable with going to recess and having some discussions with Budget and Finance, or do it here with Budget and Finance? Ms. Weicker, Ms. Molnar?
Doesn't matter either way.
Madam Chair, I do not need a recess. I would like to make a motion to postpone it. If the council chooses to agree or not, that's up to them. I really probably don't want to get into it too much, but I tried to ask my questions last night. I was told I'd never asked them before. So I said, okay, thank you very much. So I left it at that. So.
Okay, so...
in 16 years, I haven't asked any questions.
On this item, you did? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so...
Maybe we should try to ask the question again. I mean,
okay. Let's...
I mean, council can have their druthers either way if they want to, postpone the item and call a special meeting. That's certainly their prerogative to do that. I think Budget and Finance is, letting you know through the process, it has to be posted before June 30th. Mm-hmm. So we can answer the questions right here and now and deal with the business of the city, or we can postpone the business of the city and call another meeting.
Ms. Jordan?
I just want to state that if we do not approve a budget amendment the way that it sits right now, there are several departments that will go over budget, and part of the audit process, we will receive a finding for that. So it's very important to approve a budget amendment before the year end.
Okay, Madam Chair, then if I may ask a question, we received a large amount of money that we were not expecting from the court, and we were told that was unexpected. So I think my question would be then, and that was basically the question I was asking, is what would we have done with the departments coming up short, and how would we have managed that? Because we've just done a budget, then we did a budget amendment, and now we're doing another budget amendment. So I think my question would be, if we did not, because I had suggested something else to do with the part of the large amount of money we received, and it's already spent, or supposedly, expended out to spend. So how would we have dealt with our issues if we had not received that money?
Jordan?
If it's so important.
Well, basically, our bottom line and the amount that we would be paying back towards our deficit would be smaller. So that money is going towards to help pay back our deficit.
So when we did our budget and our deficit plan, if I may continue, Madam Chair, and I'm not sure who can answer this, and I'm not even sure if it's a question. So when we did our budget and our budget amendment, and we did our deficit plan, we did not really use our true numbers, because the amount of money we received was a large amount we were not expecting. So why would we do it if we didn't realize that we would be able to make those payments?
Madam Chair, I'll grab that one from the aspect. What we're talking about, the number that's being revenue is talking about $100,000 of additional court fine revenue that wasn't budgeted when we did the budget at that point. If you recall, we had, for about 3 weeks, ended detail. Pending the budget amendment at that point in time, council, we recognized additional revenue with additional expense so we could re-implement the traffic detail, and we projected out based on the same quarterly process and the ticket revenue that had been coming in. It appears that the projected revenue is $100,000 more than what we anticipated. the expenses are also s- more than what were anticipated. There were expenses left out in departments that those payouts have to come out. There's obviously, bills that we discussed that are on this agenda, that money has to be shifted, usually interdepartment. The point is we've made it with every budget and budget amendment, there isn't padding or fat left in departments to where they make up, interdepartmentally or inter-fund with expenses where one account goes over and you have to move, you just blend it into the total bottom line that council approves. So when one budget starts to exceed that budget line, the whole department budget is off. We've had a number of expenses and repairs to fire equipment and engines. Again, those come up. I mean, you can only be so prepared, and we've got a thin budget approaching that. As Ms. Jordan stated, we did a budget. We also sent a debt plan to the state that said that we would repay about $300,000, which was down from our anticipated $800,000, I think it was, with the original plan. And if we just utilize that $100,000, we'd be sending them amended debt plan, or sending a year-end budget that reflected $136,000 payment versus $300,000. And again, I don't know what that, what that's, starts or initiates with the state process. So to say that we've come across, money that we didn't expect it's great. It's money that pays down deficit. It's money that's been spent. It's $5.4 million of money that's been spent on all the costs that the city has incurred over the last 2+ years. So,
Madam Chair? Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, Madam Chair, I was not inferring that I don't appreciate the extra money, by no means, and I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, we're given numbers, a month later we're giving different numbers, and then today we have different numbers. And I know you say we have no fat, everything's very lean, and we were told that at the budget, and we were told that at the last budget amendment, that there's no fat, everything's very lean. This is what we will be spending, and this is what we need to pay. So, and then when I ask if maybe we could use some of the money, the extra money that we didn't expect quite so much, which is great to have, on one thing, it says, no, we have to have it for these bills that we've incurred already in the last, 6 weeks, 4 weeks, that we're not supposed to be there. So it seems like it just seems each and every time there's a little bit extra money, it's already spent. So I find that very discerning, and then as I said last night, I wanted to discuss it further, but do not want to be insulted, nor do I want to be demeaned when I ask the questions, that they are proper questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Ms. Jordan, you want
If I may.
to respond?
I just would like to state that part of the process of going through the budget, we have identified several invoices that have not been paid from the fire department, and one of them is on the agenda tonight for $20,000.
Okay.
That is part of the problem that we discovered when going through all of this after we amended the budget with you back in April.
And
Mayor Lambert.
as was stated, Madam Chair, with the change in the finance department, and we've stated that going through accounts and cleaning up and making sure everything was being reflected is a part of what we see. There are certain personnel expenses in the fire department that weren't a part of the determination of the budget account. So those have to be recognized. They've already been paid out, so it's going to put their budget over. As Ms. Jordan, I think, stated last night, there's certain monies related to the grant that have to be unallocated because would be over reimbursing ourselves by year end from the SAFER grant because they haven't been fully incurred expenses. So we can't continue to recognize that as revenue, so we have to pull that back. I mean, so we haven't taken it all out, but we have to balance that out as well, so.
Okay. I know that typically, looking through some previous years, there were numerous budget amendments. This is our third for this budget year, is that correct? It's number 3. So, but, I mean, I guess it's my understanding, like you're saying, that this is a projection that the court has given based on up numbers for them on these fines. And so it's not there yet, but we're projecting that we'll finish out the year with that money so we can put that towards other expenses that have been already incurred. This is not, it's not extra money by any means. How much of it is, just to kind of summarize, I know you
Well, Madam
we
Chair,
have our
if I
report.
could- it simplifies that process. If the thought process or what's in consideration under council's purview at this point in time is to reallocate that money to a different department for a different expense, it's not going to post by June 30th. It's not going to matter. It's not going to post by June 30th. So, to allocate it, it's just going to get the same thing. So if they want to put it somewhere else count it as an expense, it's not going to get expensed by June 30th. Now, where we're at this point in time.
Mr. Soler?
I certainly understand the effort to clean up the budget, and I don't know that I heard any discussion about allocating it anywhere else, but what I don't have is that there are 4 departments that I guess it's just as easy to get the answers here today as to why we're increasing, because what we don't have is those answers as to why, at least in this budget amendment. You have the Customer Assistance Center that's increasing $23,000. You have the Human Resource Department that's increasing $50,000. You have the insurance expenditures that's increasing $83,800, and then the motor vehicle pool that's increasing $50,000. So, I mean, if you know where those details are, that'd be great.
Ms. Jordan?
Okay.
Isn't that reflected on the additional sheet that was provided as well?
This is the sheet you have are my notes.
Okay, so they don't have this, okay.
As for
Madam Chair, is it possible that we could get a copy of that?
Mr. Soler?
Sure, I don't have a problem with that.
And again, I just asked the question because I assumed that Ms. Jordan was ready to answer those questions last night and they weren't asked, there was any questions asked, so related to where, but we can do both. So if you could answer the questions now, we'll get the copy of that.
Yes.
In the history of providing budget amendments, we usually don't provide our notes, but, I mean, if you'd like a copy, I can certainly give it to
Okay,
you.
well, go ahead
And I can answer your questions.
now.
As for the Customer Service Center, we had 2 employees retire, so the increase there is due to compensated banks.
Paying them out,
Yes.
okay?
Then
HR?
HR was the next one. Those are due to the projected attorney fees that we have through the year end, based on the current expenses that are already out there.